All right, this is Sam Stone, CBR.com, here at Comic-Con International 2022 in San Diego with the cast and crew of Green Lantern Beware My Power. Guys, thanks for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, brother.
So, I think one of the things about this project is we see a cosmic side to the DCU that we don't normally get. You guys are working with Wes Gleason, you're working with Butch. Like, how has it been, like, joining this project and getting to take on these iconic characters for this movie?
Hey, before we get into that, man, I got to give you props on the ring. You're not just going to hide that, bro.
Come on.
Yeah.
You gotta let the world see. You already in the core.
You got to raise that hand and suck it off his
But how's it been to join this project, man? It's been fantastic. First of all, it's a really cool project to be a part of just because we know these characters are so beloved by the fans. And to be able to bring it to life in the film format, the very first film, that is monumental. It is huge. And then you got all this talent up in here. You know what I'm saying? Crazy enough, because we started shooting during like the pandemic, this is the first time I'm getting to meet, a lot of everybody. So this is a doubly cool experience for me, man. But this is it's really fantastic. Tops it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility and it's been a lot of fun. And to be able to watch everyone's performances together when we got our copy of the film was super exciting to see how we played off each other. So I think people will love that.
I am curious, Aldis, because I'm sure this has come up a lot. You're pulling double superhero duty in the DCU these days. And on the cosmic side is Hawkman, and now is Jon Stewart. Like, how is it kind of like differentiating the two and finding the differences? Because there's a lot of depth and rawness to Jon in this movie.
Absolutely. It's really digging into the honest nature of who they are, the backstory, and when I sort of did a deep dive into Jon Stewart, granted, I already grew up, a fan of the animated series, a fan of the comic books and all that. So I had my fan perception of who Jon Stewart was, right? But then when I really got into who he was as a person outside of Green Lantern Corps, who is the man, that's where you start building the character that you put into the performance, because for this film, you're really seeing him become, right? So there's a lot of room to explore and play and be a little messy with trying to figure out what's going on, you know what I mean? So there's actually much more freedom to explore trying to build out a character here, because he is figuring it out himself. So I can figure it out along with him. And I just hope the fans figure it out with me.
It's great to watch because the character has such a great arc.
Yeah.
And a lot of times these characters are more static, and it's so cool to see, this kind of origin story with Jon Stewart.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's something also I like when it comes to him trying to go into these new spaces as he meets all of these different characters. The relationships there, the challenges, he has to prove himself to himself, he has to prove himself to them, especially like when it comes to Hawk Girl and, and my relationship with Green
Easy to
Arrow.
please.
Speak on it. Speak on it.
Yeah, Hawk Girl's pretty badass, and I think, her trying to learn how to work with other people, it makes it easier to see a lot of her layers, and so that's been an exciting part of her.
Yeah, Jimmy, I'm curious because Ollie's the guy that can shoot trick arrows. He's the guy, he is the sardonic wit of the Justice League, and suddenly he finds himself on this cosmic odyssey. How is it finding the kind of the fish out of water while paired with this guy he doesn't know if he can trust yet over the course of this movie?
Well, I generally am a fish out of water in any environment, so I jumped right in. Green Lantern happened to be weirdly my favorite comic book hero, and so just the chance to get to work with these guys and Butch, and then when I found out who's going to be in it, I was just so excited to have my little crack at Green Arrow, because the guy's so interesting and funny, and like you said, he's kind of sardonic, and he's kind of the glue that binds people together through him being the dick. Kind of, If I'm the asshole, then everyone else can get along, right? Can you guys get along? And I'll just say the shitty thing, which is a delight. Yeah.
What I also find interesting is, so Brian, Sarah, you're kind of like opposing forces in this wider galactic conflict. You've got Hawk Girl and you've got Adam Strange representing Rand. Like, how is it kind of like finding these two characters in the middle of wartime that have sacrificed so much and find themselves kind of like at odds and learning to work together?
That's such an interesting perspective on it, them learning to work together, because a big part of this for me was recognizing this idea that it's a second chance for, without spoilers here, for Adam Strange, the condition he's in, what he's been through, what he's lost, and then, as you'll see, again, without giving anything away, what he's willing to sacrifice to get there, to help sort of, save the world, save the universe. But it this idea that these two people who are from these factions that can't get along, are forced to overcome that, conflict between them in order to triumph here and to achieve victory. That's also a great arc that we have in the story.
I think that's a good life lesson too, kind of finding common ground even with your enemy, right? I think it makes it easier to understand each other as humans, and the idea that we think someone is one way because of a label that we've given them, and then she kind of has to give up that wall and let him in, because it turns out we actually have a common goal here, and you wouldn't realize that if you don't take the chance to kind of hear them out,
Butch, you've been overseeing this. You've been seeing, the Justice Society in World War II. We've seen the dark side of Gotham City with the long Halloween movies. How is it working with Jeff and working with John and Ernie to bring this side of the DCU to life with Beware My Power?
Who are those guys? Who are they?
Never heard of them.
I don't know who you're talking. Yeah, it was great. I mean, we started these storylines about 5 years ago because we had to present it to DC as far as slowly bringing along the Justice League that we wanted to approach. So we always were intending on doing John Stewart Green Lantern and bringing back Hawk Girl in some aspect. At the time, we didn't know how. And also, originally we set out to do Green Lantern and Green Arrow traveling U.S. and trying to find other metahumans, superheroes that were in hiding.
Buddy comedy. Hey.
Yeah, there we
go.
Yeah. Next up.
But that storyline, I was like, and at the end we were supposed to go to space. Problem for me was money and animation-wise. I mean, going all across the U.S. in a convertible would have killed us. A lot of backgrounds to paint. You just see whizzing by. It was impossible. So I was like, come on, guys, we got to get into space quick. Because space is easy to paint.
So interesting.
I mean, it's all
Look
about
under the hood at that.
And it's like the opposite of when we're doing practical stuff.
Right.
It's like, I can't do it in space.
Right.
So economically, it worked, but it was also the storyline was based on a short I did of Adam Strange, where I put together Thanagar and Ron were at war. So we created this whole Vietnam type of experience. So, and then you and Green Arrow and Green Lantern are getting together reluctantly, and they're not firm friends yet. And then you two guys meet and you're enemies. So, it all kind of worked in that respect.
Yeah, sure.
If that was the question you asked.
More or less. To kind of go into the more abstract, do you remember, or I guess it's the opposite of abstract, so specific. Do you remember any specific line in the character description or breakdown that helped each of you find your respective voice to bring these characters to life?
You ready?
Yeah, I know for me, honestly, it was the good old oath. I had to figure out how to say that and sound cool, and not you can't mess that up, man. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, how's he gonna dig into this? He gets a couple cracks at it, and he finally finds his way. But yeah, man, that oath is the oath is sort of my true north when it came to what I anchored him to, because that was the thing he aspired to, not saying it, but what it represents. So, you feel it, you play it out, you perform it based off of the nature of him. So in these different stages of him trying to find himself, there are different ways he's coming at it. So it helped me figure out what his journey was. Yeah.
I know for me, just anytime you see a breakdown for a female character that starts with warrior or badass, you're like, yes! We need more of that in life and in entertainment, I think. And, Hawk Girl has an 80-year history at this point, and learning that for me was even more inspiring, realizing that this strong female has been in this universe for so long, and it motivated me to really do her justice.
What I really liked was discovering when we started to actually record this, the way that this project came to me was one of the, again, not giving things away, but one of the earliest situations that he's in is he says something like, paraphrasing here, I may not look like it, but I'm. And because he's in a broken down state. And building up from that broken down place. And also his magnetic north being the love of his family. And then how that plays into what he does in this story. I think those are amazing pieces of this. But also, I'm incredibly into the Jon Stewart story. The PTS aspect of it that's there, the oath. There's so many things about this, and I loved, your work in this was absolutely amazing, and it was so great when I started to hear some of your cues in the booth and other things, and you just start to, because we shoot these things, like we were saying before, we do this separately, and it's not only necessarily a COVID era aspect of this. Sometimes the way this pipeline works is everybody records separately, and you may never see the people that you work with in an animated feature or even television series sometimes. So just hearing some of the carbon-based life forms as you're recording this thing was really great.
No, it feels like you guys were all in a room together.
It does.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, there's a lot of chemistry there.
Yeah.
And watching it, it feels like everybody was together.
We're together now.
Because you guys are all so good.
Talking. Yeah, I was really drawn to his love of his friends was the kind of the groundwork, but then his ability to diffuse tension by being a bit funny was really appealing. I think what drew me the most was kind of his reactions to this epically strong, powerful, fierce character.
Your line, she's fun.
Yeah.
It's like my favorite.
She's like that, you guys. Okay. It's just like, and it's just delightful. It's just such a well written little bit to be able to do.
And I think I got time for one more. And again, avoiding spoilers as best we can. Now that the project is in the can, you've seen the finished film. What are you most proud of, especially taking on these characters that mean so much to so many fans and are so impressionable and aspirational to children around the world?
Well, I'm glad to bring back Jon Stewart as Green Lantern, because when we did Justice League Adventures, Justice League Unlimited, I realized in Jim, you know what, for the last 20 plus years, most of the kids growing up only know him as Jon Stewart, or only know Jon Stewart as the Green Lantern, where unfortunately there's a lot of people like Hal Jordan, who's that? Well, they're going to find out who Hal Jordan is in this.
So cool.
In a big way.
Yeah.
Really big way.
Yeah. Anything that you guys are like particularly proud of?
Honestly, man, just the entire piece.
Yeah.
Knocking this thing out, getting it done, accomplishing it, what it is. I mean, saw the film. I love it. I love what I feel personally it represents, which, the world will know later on when it gets shown out. But I like the risks they took with the storylines that we sort of get to explore with this particular film. And I know fans are going to be really excited for, no spoilers, but there's look, think of it as a nice, wonderful orchestra. We got a little crescendo, and then we have that big finale, and it is well worth it, man.
Love it.
It's just from a fan perspective, I'm like, yes.
And then there's some fans that might not be so happy.
There's always going to be fans in this world.
Yeah.
You got to have conflict to tell
Yes.
a story.
Yeah.
I think one thing too that I know I'm particularly proud of is having the opportunity to portray another very mission-driven woman. It's very much grounded in the women who aren't in the armed forces. Those are our real-life heroes, and there are women out there who are mission-driven and who are doing things to protect their country and the people that they love. And so I think grounding her in that is important, and I'm grateful that I get to once again, I think, hopefully portray a strong female that reflects well on those who are actually out there mission-focused, getting this done in the real world.
Again, this is the cast and crew of Green Lantern Beware My Power, out on digital HD and Blu-ray on Tuesday, July 26th. Guys, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much, man. Thank you.